Hey guys. So for this snack bite, we just got caught up on The Talking Dead, the last episode for the mid-season finale, and it was interesting to me that no one, not Chris, not Yvette, obviously Carrie wouldn't, no one asked Scott, well, what's the deal with the old man Rick scene? And I say that because if you recall at the season premiere, they insisted that the old man Rick scene was not a dream. So if it's not a dream and Carl was in it, then it has to be something else, which led me to believe that the scene in question is actually a scene from the afterlife and Rick is waking up into it. Now, we've rewatched and analyzed that scene, and there's a few things going on, starting with the Weird Al song. Now, everyone is distracted with the Weird Al part, but the reality is that another one bite. No, wait, what is it? What is it?
Another one rides the
Another one
bus.
rides the bus is a parody on Queens. Another one bites the dust. And I actually looked up the lyrics on that, and it's actually very appropriate for, obviously the obvious part, another one bites the dust, but then there's the part where, how do you think I'm going to get along without you when you're gone? There's like a lot of stuff about, leaving or being left, being in war. Um, and I think that that was kind of like subliminal on their part. And then the opening scene with Rick seeing the fresh
Yeah.
flowers, juxtaposed between him seeing the dead flowers when he wakes up in the
He
apocalypse.
wakes up alive with dead flowers, and then he wakes up dead with alive flowers. That would make perfect sense. And also going back to the song, he comments on the song when he walks out into the kitchen, and that's another thing is that the clock isn't moving.
Oh, his watch.
Yeah, his watch is dead, and they zoom in on the watch, and it's just dead.
Not
It's not
moving,
moving at
yeah.
all. So like time stands still, sort of thing. He walks out, and he says to Michonne, "You turned off the alarm," and she's like, "We're all playing hooky," and then right
No,
then,
no, no, no. Carl says that. Carl says we're all playing hooky.
what does Michonne say? She says something.
Ah, that he needed the rest.
Oh,
I
he
thought she
needed the
needed the
rest,
rest.
yeah. And then, so right then, Carl walks by, right? And they purposely didn't show Carl's face, which, like, to me, I think they didn't want to reveal his age. And then also, like,
I surmise that Carl will have both eyes once we see the full scope of this scene.
that would make sense. But anyway, so he says, we're all playing hooky. And Rick says, all of us. And then Carl says, well, I didn't pick this song.
Yeah, like which does not
it
answer the question at
Yeah,
all.
it seemed like hooky was like code for like we're all dead, and that's why Rick said all of us, like he was like confused. And then the last thing, so they're like bringing attention to it, right? And then the other thing, that little kid, Gracie, and I know it's Gracie now because I mean we watched it again. It's clearly not Judith. She's got the same stuffed animal that Gracie had in the crib when Rick picked her up, and then just look at her. It's just not Judith, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she said the owl thing. Like explain
Right.
that. I never would have picked up on this.
So the last time we saw a big ass owl was Supercuts. Jesse made a huge owl. That was like Rick's first case in Alexandria. Was the case of who vandalized the owl,
I don't remember
right?
this at all. I don't
and
know
we
why.
and we end up learning that it was Sam because he was all disgruntled about his abusive father. So we have this huge owl being dedicated to Rick. It wouldn't surprise me if Jesse is also there in the afterlife. Now that doesn't no need to fret, Rashawn. There's not one commentary on one way or the other. It's just people who Rick has met and has lost in his life. Um, Obviously, in his house, we have Michonne, Carl, and we have this little girl who is not Judith, but it's clearly established who's in his house. But I think it's safe to assume that the other people who are there are people he's come across along the way, Jesse included. At the end of the series, I think it's entirely possible we'll see Lori, maybe even Shane. I don't
Maybe even
know.
Shane. I don't
Although,
know.
although he's probably in hell
He was an
somewhere.
enemy, so it's like Um,
Glenn for sure. Like, you know.
watch like Shane and Gareth come skipping through the
Oh, no,
gates
no,
one
no.
day.
Well, Shane was not that
The
bad.
governor's got his arm around both of them and shit.
Well,
Like,
Tyrese was hallucinating about the governor, so who knows?
that's true. Yeah, they brought him back for that scene.
But I think like we'll probably see other scenes where you'll see like Daryl. He'll probably be like eating something, like, "Oh, you finally woke up, huh?" He'll say something to that effect, or if not Daryl, it'll be Rosita or
Yeah, it's kind of actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it sort of reminds me of the last scene in Lost, where they all, he like goes into that church and they all are in there and they all basically say like, "Oh, we've been waiting for you to show up," like that sort of thing.
Even though I hated that on Lost, I think it would make more sense here.
Yeah. The last thing too is that when you see him walk outside, that house that's right across the street, if you look at the detailing on it, it's clear that that is not a house that like a modern architect would ever construct. It looks like it was constructed like 400 or 500 years ago. Like the bricks are like all uneven. They're not even made with bricks. They're made with like rocks or something like that. It
And
looks,
the walkway's dirt.
yeah, it looks like the kind of thing that somebody would build if they didn't really know how to build houses and were figuring it out as they go, in response to rebuilding Alexandria, which we just saw get
Right.
destroyed in the last episode, right?
The house that they're in, I'm pretty sure is the Alexandria house, just a bit modified. Right down to there's actually a cat sculpture, not one that we've seen before. It's a black cat sculpture on the bookshelf. And then the fireplace where Michonne had her sword up before is also there. Well, another thing that's interesting to know is that an owl is typically in a lot of cultures, Native American, some African cultures, and a few European ones, is symbolic of being like a harbinger of death.
Yeah.
There was another note though too. Oh right, why Rick might look all old and decrepit if he's in the afterlife. And I was actually telling you, like, it depends, like, depending on what type of world we're referring to, until the person realizes that they've actually passed away, that they manifest themselves as they last looked.
Yeah.
And then once they realize that they have passed on, they can transform.
Yeah, and that's probably why they didn't want to show Carl's face, is because if he's got like two eyes, that would give it away that this is like obviously not the present. And then it would also imply that Rick is the last person to die in the show, which obviously,
well, the
right?
last of his family anyway. Well, excluding Judith.
Yeah, but come on. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not going to be a season of
last
The
is
Walking Dead
immediate,
without
yeah.
Rick. I mean, that just makes no sense. So anyway, like it implies that like Carl dies now. He looks the same, right? He's wearing like the same kind of clothes and everything. He's got the hat on. And then Michonne, we can't tell how old she is because she's black.
Exactly. Well, it's true.
And then Rick looks like way older. I mean, he looks like 20 years older or something. He's balding and he's got the wound on his leg that I'm assuming he gets during this war, because like I know comic people don't like me to talk about the comics, but he gets a broken leg during the war, during his final fight with Negan when he finally beats him. He kicks the crap out of him, but he also gets a broken leg in the process. That's why he's got the cane. So it would make sense if he died at old age with the limp that he still has from that war. That's what he would look like way later on.
Also, I just want to add, I know we're wrapping it up, we're about to run out of time, but I just want to add, like, don't scoff at this theory, because I know I got some flack when we were on Talking Dead and I was talking about how Negan might make a deal with some of Rick's people. And I'm sorry, but it seems to me that is exactly what Negan did with Eugene, with Father Gabriel, and also with Sasha. He's been brokering deals left and right. He was willing to broker a deal with Carl.
And he's he's also
guy.
his armor is starting to wear down. I mean, he did a couple things in this last episode that were very
different.
Well, no, because I'm talking about the fact that, like, well, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about Negan specifically. Just that, in terms of our predictions, I feel that I was right ultimately. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's where I was going with it. Is because he was considering making a final deal with Carl when Carl told him that he was willing to die. Like, he stopped and thought about it. Yeah, he stopped and thought about it. That's what I was going to say.
Negan brokers deals left and right.
Yeah, he just, he's selective about them. So anyway, yeah, I think that's probably what it is. I think it probably is an afterlife shot, just because that's the only thing that makes sense. That's the only thing that makes sense how Rick could somehow be 20 years older and Carl is the same age.
Oh,
Which also sort of is disturbing though, because that means that Gracie dies and Judith's not dead. So I don't know what happened there.
and
Um,
somehow Rick raised her.
and somehow Rick raised her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So um, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Anything else?
Nope.
Alrighty. If you guys like our stuff, subscribe right here. Also follow us on Instagram at RLRoshone. And also check out the brand new blog, thelivingroshone.com, which we update weekly. As always, thank you guys so much for watching us, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.